Anastasia, will you remind me your last name? Is it Stitchfield?
Stitchfield, correct.
Thank you. And whoever is on their iPhone, can you please tell us who you are so we can try to determine quorum?
Councilman Jerry Friedel, Fountain Hills.
Thank you, Councilmember Friedel. I appreciate it. Hi, Trish. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Celeste. We'll be getting going here in just a second. Hi, Amy. Hi, Melissa. Okay, Madam Chair, you are at quorum. Excuse me, Madam Vice Chair, you are at quorum. Thank you everyone for joining us for the December meeting of the Regional Domestic Violence Council. I am going to have Vice Chair DC Ernst begin the meeting. Our chair, Chair Norton, is under the weather today. She is here, but she's asked Vice Chair Ernst to take over. And with that, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you, Kelly. As you may have just heard, our recording is in progress. So good afternoon, members of the MAG Regional Domestic Violence Council. This meeting is now called to order. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube as a way for members of the public to participate. For those, which is all of us, participating by Zoom today, please state your name when you're making a comment or asking a question. I'll ask that you keep your microphones on mute when you're not speaking. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all of our members.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Celeste Adams.
Here.
Thank you. Zach Altman. Lupe Bandine. Emily Karen. Sergeant Jenny Chavez. Joshua Clark.
Here.
Thank you. Ali Klein. Christine Ellis.
Here.
Thank you. Jerry Friedel.
Present, and just a reminder that I have to cut out around 3 o'clock. I've got an overbooked meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember Friedel. Cindy Garcia. Laura. Thank you, Cindy. Laura Gild. Christine Hahn McDonald. Elizabeth Herbert.
Here.
Thank you. Sam Hinchy. Sipand Alizada on behalf of Burdetta Hodge.
Here. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Elliott on behalf of Mary Lynn Kasanick. Hi, here. Thank you. Patricia Clark.
Present.
Thank you. Sherry Loretano. Andrew Lefevre. I thought I saw Andrew. Maybe he left and he'll come back. Okay. Kevin Mattingly. Amy Offenberg.
Here.
Thank you. Carol Park Aiden. Anastasia Stitchfield on behalf of Kristen Charla.
Here.
Thank you. Melissa Thomas.
Here.
Thank you. Kathy Tilkey.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chair DC Ernst.
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Anita Norton. She is here. Vice Chair, you have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, our next item is a call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. Members of the public could submit written comments via MAG website 2 hours prior to the meeting. Staff, do we have any written comments for this item or any anyone wish to speak from the audience?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did not have any comments submitted ahead of time for this item or any others on the agenda today.
Thank you so much. Moving to item number 3, our next item is the approval of the October 5th, 2023 meeting minutes. Does any member of the council have any questions? Hearing none, I like to give a little bit more time when we're on Zoom. It often takes me a while to find the unmute button. So hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Councilman Jerry Friedel, so moved.
Christina Ellis, Councilmember, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can I have a voice vote from the members? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members who did not participate in the voice vote?
Madam Vice Chair, I'm going to go ahead and go through the whole thing again because we have a bunch of folks that aren't available to join us via camera. So I'll try to make it quick. Okay.
Thank you.
Celeste Adams.
Aye.
Thank you. Emily Karen. Joshua Clark.
Aye.
Thank you. Ally Klein.
Aye.
Thank you. Christine Ellis.
Aye.
Thank you. Jerry Friedel.
Aye.
Cindy Garcia.
Aye.
Thank you. Christine Han McDonald.
Aye, and I don't think I was marked present, but I logged on like a minute late, so I apologize.
We've got you down. Thank you very much. Elizabeth Herbert.
Aye.
Thank you. Sipand Elazada on behalf of Burdetta Hodge.
Aye.
Thank you. Melissa Elliott on behalf of Marilyn Kathanick.
Aye.
Thank you. Patricia Clark.
Aye.
Thank you. Andrew Lefevre. Amy Offenberg.
Aye.
Kristen Charlau. Excuse me, Anastasia Stitchfield on behalf of Kristen Charlau.
Aye.
Thank you. Melissa Thomas.
Aye.
Thank you. Kathy Tilkey.
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair DC Ernst.
Aye.
Thank you. Chair Anita Norton.
Aye.
Thank you. Did I overlook anyone?
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me or not. This is Carol Park Aiden from Community Legal Services. I too had a challenge getting on. I've done it at least, and I would vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining with us, Carol. We appreciate it. We'll also note down your attendance. Madam Vice Chair,
Thank you.
the motion passes.
Thank you. With that, the motion carries. All right, our next item is item number 4. This item is an update from me. Yes, you'll get sick of my voice today, on the Teen Dating Violence Prevention Work Group. So I'm excited to say that we're continuing to move forward with this work group. I appreciate Kelly and the other members who held a meeting when I was not able to attend in November. We also held a meeting on December 4th, where we started talking about Teen Dating Violence Prevention Month, which is in February, and how we can be the most impactful and accessible for groups across Maricopa County. Within that group, Noah Snyder, who represents Bloom 365, shared that they do a First Friday campaign, and she didn't have a lot of details at the meeting, but we'll continue to look for those details and share those out with the committee as we can. We're also continuing to discuss event calendars for February. So if you or any of your communities have any events, if you could please share those with Kelly, myself, and Mimi, we would be happy to see about starting to get that out onto the MAG website as well. Our priorities, well, let me back up just a little bit. Noah from Bloom 365, we started talking about how they have accessed schools to be able to go in there and provide education on healthy relationships. And so she is taking it back to Bloom 365 to see how much they would be able to share with us about their successes in that. We are also reaching out to Care 7 and Tempe in the hopes that they'll be able to present the successes they've had in the city of Tempe and getting into from grade schools to high schools and providing supportive services at the school. And then we're looking at continuing education. So for those of you who were with us last year, Bloom 365 and MAG collaborated to put together a series of educations that were online. And this year we're going to look to see if there's additional trainings that we can do. If you weren't with us last year, those are still available on the MAG website. Please go and enjoy those presentations. So our next meeting is Monday, January 8th, 2024, just to let that sink in for a minute, at 7 o'clock. Our meetings are via Zoom. Our goal is to get as many youth involved in this as possible. We currently have 2 to 3 representatives who are teenagers and high school, sophomore through senior year that are providing support, and we are looking to them to help us also gather more individuals to come, because one of the things that they did emphasize is the need for peers to be educating peers. So we'll continue that work. And with that, do any of our members have any questions or comments?
Madam Vice Chair, may I add one thing?
Please.
We will have a sample proclamation for Teen Dating Violence Prevention Month for your cities that will be emailed out to all of the membership. It is a proclamation that MAG uses for National Domestic Violence Prevention Month in October that we modified last year for specifically the teen audience. If you are interested in pushing that through your town councils or promoting it in any way on your social media, we'd be more than happy to send that out to everyone, including some social media talking points in the next month.
That would be amazing. Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
And Kelly, if you could maybe include me on just sometimes, because I get every email that Councilmember Hodge gets, but can't hurt for me to get it too, if you don't mind.
Do not mind at all. I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your support. And again, the next meeting is in January. And if you would like to attend, or if you have others that you would like to attend, please encourage them to do so. Our next item was abuse in later life grant update. Unfortunately, Jody is not able to join us today, so this agenda item will be postponed to the next council meeting when she's available. We're gonna get you out of here at 3 o'clock, I promise. And item number 6 is welcoming the new chair and vice chair. Today is Chair Norton's last council meeting as chair. We are so sorry that you are not feeling well, Chair Norton. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank her for her dedicated service the past 2 years leading this council, and are beyond grateful to share with everyone that she will be continuing to work in this space as a council member. And with that, if I'd like to pause and give anybody an opportunity to make a statement.
Madam Co-Chair, Councilmember Christine Ellis with the City of Chandler, may I? I would like to thank the Chair Norton for her dedication to this path. Usually people that go through things like that, they have 2 roads to take. They can either become very bitter and become very destructive, or they can build upon whatever happened to them and become a force to be reckoned with when it comes to make changes and things. And from the time I have met her, she was the latest, that person who wants to thrive to help, that no one else will have to be. The first time I heard her story, it really moved me. And from that moment on, I felt that everything I was doing, I needed to invite her. And she came to Chandler and she told her story in front of many people. And some people after that time reached out to me and said, what an amazing story for her to have gone through the things that she went through and to be that woman standing there right now. And she didn't let the whole cat out of the bag until at the end of her speech, when she explained what had happened to this young woman. And then at the end, when she stated that woman was me. And that impact there was nothing like it. So I would like to thank you for all you have done for this organization. I would like to thank you for what you have done in that space for the women who have suffered, and men who have suffered for that matter, and the children who was raised in that environment. And now they can look upon you and see that they don't have to become what their environment were, but they can be better than that. So thank you again for all you have done, Madam Chair. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, if I could add. just
Another
one-
hand up? Absolutely.
I will just say from the MAG staff perspective, Co-Chair Norton has been so easy to work with, and we can always count on her to attend conferences, be available to speak, provide media interviews. It's been just so easy to work with her, and you see her passion and her dedication both in her story and also her advocacy for others, and we're just very thankful for her.
Thank you so much.
Chair Norton, it's been an honor to be your vice chair for the past 2 years. I hope that I can do as well in the chair position as you did, and I look forward to continuing to work with you and welcome any as we continue to move forward in our efforts to address the needs of victims of domestic violence, as well as to end domestic violence.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I am sure that we will all continue moving forward in this great mission to combat domestic violence. Thank you.
And if we have to add laryngitis to that, we'll add it. All right, well.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment? I'll leave it open for just another minute and then we'll move on. All right, seeing none. So I'd like to first start off by thanking MAG for selecting and allowing me to be chair for the council for the next 2 years. It's going to be an honor for me to continue this work that was started so many years ago and has been championed by so many before me. I'd also like to welcome Councilmember Christine Ellis as our newly elected vice chair for the council. Councilmember Ellis, would you like to say a few words?
Councilmember Ellis, you are muted, unfortunately.
Unmuting. Thank you so much. I was trying to unmute myself. I'm not on the computer. I'm on a phone, and that can be challenging. Again, thank you so much for the vote of confidence, I will say, because when I was called to rise up to the occasion on this one, I didn't think twice because I felt that there's a passion in me for that space, and I would love to come in and big shoes to fill. But I know with Miss Kelly's help and the support of every member of this team, we can continue to do great.
Continue to seek teen input and participation in the teen dating violence prevention work group. I think we should review city and county domestic violence fatality review reports to determine if there are best practices this council can support and use to update best practices. Continue to support the growth of employment and domestic violence as shelter advocates and crisis responders, and other roles that advocates play with assisting those who've experienced domestic violence, as well as learning more about the goals of council members and what you would like to focus on as, and I encourage you to please share those. At every council meeting near the end, we ask, what are things that you guys want in the future? We have a very diverse council group right now. We have individuals who've been with the group for under a couple of years. We have people who've been with the council as long as I have, which seems like a very long time. And I want to encourage everybody to share your voice and to let us know what we can do moving forward. One of the things I did notice is that the last time we actually updated the Misdemeanor Domestic Violence Council or protocol model was actually in 2014. So that's almost 10 years ago in another month. It'll be close to 10 years ago. So I think maybe also looking at what we've done in the past that might need to be relooked at and updated is also a goal I'd like to see. And again, I want to thank everybody for their support. And I would like to open it up to see if any members have any questions or comments.
Madam Chair, or Madam Vice Chair at this time. I think this is, I quickly wrote down, I know that Ms. Kelly's probably gonna send us the whole plan and our goals for the next 2 years and how we're going to, but I quickly wrote down some of these, these are really important issues that I think we all can rally around and support. And one thing that I would also like to add is resources. How can we tap into resources to be able to continue to have programs that we can, or recommendation of resources that we can give to those who are in that space to continue to have programs? I know a lot of time we don't really have money, or if we have money, it's not really money that we can use in any way like that. But this can, anytime I meet with people and they're in that space, they're always telling me that they need resources. It's very hard for them to continue this work. So I would love to add that as part of our agenda also for the next 2 years, to partner with groups, partner with even NLC or wherever we could find the resources to funnel it down to those in that space so they don't get discouraged and continue to push through in this type of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellis.
Vice Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I know at our last meeting, we were all extremely moved by the young woman, the survivor of domestic violence. And it was a real call to action in regard to how the justice system is functioning and responding to victims and survivors. And I know we have a guest today that's going to touch on that, but I would hope that that would still be one of our goals. And I think that would be it's a huge work, but clearly, as she demonstrated when she spoke to us, definitely needed.
Thank you, Chair Norton. Kelly, I know you're taking notes, so if we can go ahead and put that as a list on our agenda of future items as well, that would be awesome.
We sure will. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, hearing no additional comments, thank you, Chair Norton. We'll move to item number 7, which is the Arizona Judiciary Update. Kay Radwanski, hopefully I said that right. My name is DC.
Close enough.
Thank you so much. She's a senior court policy analyst with the Arizona Supreme Courts, and will discuss the committee on the impact of domestic violence in the courts, or CIDVIC, and its roles as a standing committee with the Arizona Judiciary. And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ernst. Thank you, members of MAG, for inviting me to present to you today. I am Kay Radwanski. I'm a senior court policy analyst at the Arizona Supreme Court's Administrative Office of the Courts. I'm the domestic violence specialist. I've been at the AOC for going on 16 and a half years. Among the many duties that I have at the Supreme Court, I do staff the Committee on the Impact of Domestic Violence in the Courts. So does this advance automatically? There we go. So today we're going to talk about a lot of acronyms. First is the Arizona Judicial Council, then the Arizona Code of Judicial Administration, and finally CIDVIC. The Arizona Judicial Council is a committee that guides the Supreme Court. The Arizona Constitution gives the Supreme Court administrative authority over all of the courts in the state of Arizona. And the Judicial Council assists the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice in developing policies and procedures that guide the courts. So that covers administration. The goal is to have uniformity in court operations, coordinate various services that improve the administration of justice. The Chief Justice, currently Robert Rutenell, is chair of the Arizona Judicial Council, and the ACJA that I mentioned, the Arizona Code of Judicial Administration, is a compilation of all the policies and procedures that administer the Arizona courts. The Chief Justice issues many administrative orders, and many of those become codified in the ACJA. So that's the guiding document for all of the courts to follow when it comes to procedure. The AJC is sort of at the pinnacle of a pile of committees that guide the Arizona Judicial Council. Among those, we have 9 standing committees. We have many ad hoc committees that pop up and then disappear once their mission is completed. But among those committees, I'm not going to read them all. The ones that might be of most interest to you are, of course, CIDVIC, and also another one called COVIC for short, which is the Commission on Victims in the Courts. That committee focuses on victim rights, particularly when it comes to criminal cases. And then we also have the Family Court Improvement Committee, the FCIC, that focuses on family court matters primarily. There are other committees on the list there, but those are the ones that are most relevant to what we're talking about today. CIDVIC is a very old committee among these standing committees. It was established by administrative order by Chief Justice Stanley Feldman in 1994. So CIDVIC is coming up on its 30th anniversary next year. In his administrative order back in 1994, Justice Feldman noted the members of the entities that respond to domestic violence. That includes courts, probation departments, prosecutors, law enforcement agencies. And at that time, he noted that there was a lack of common standards and there were differing procedures and philosophies among these various entities. And that resulted in inconsistent approaches to the treatment of domestic violence cases and inconsistent results when people sought relief from the courts and were requesting protection orders. Today, CIDVIC's purpose is codified in the Arizona Code of Judicial Administration in Section 1-110. The list here is the primary goals that CIDVIC focuses on. CIDVIC makes recommendations to the Judicial Council on issues that are on this list. I won't read them all to you because I know you can read them, but basically CIDVIC is recommending policies or recommending changes in procedures, recommending changes in rules or things like that, that will assist victims, will ensure that orders are enforced. We work with the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission, of which Mr. Lefevre is the director, on AZ Point, because we want to make sure that law enforcement has access to protective orders, can get them served, that sort of thing. Primarily, we look at procedures among the state's local courts to make sure that orders of protection are handled the same way consistently across the state. Are there any questions on these particular items?
Hi, this is Vice Chair Ernst. I do have one question on the last bullet point, which is encourage offender accountability. Can you talk a little bit more about what that entails?
Well, offender accountability could present in 2 different ways. First, you could have a person who violates an order of protection. An order of protection is a civil order, but it has criminal consequences if it's violated. So we want to work with prosecutors and law enforcement agencies to ensure that when violations of protective orders are reported to authorities, that there are consequences for the person who didn't follow the order. In addition to orders of protection, there can be criminal domestic violence cases. For example, an incident could occur, a person can get the civil order of protection, which is a case that's proceeding down the civil track. But at the same time, there could be a police investigation that results in criminal charges, and that case is running on a separate track. So we want to work with courts to ensure that when a person is convicted of a domestic violence offense, even if it's a misdemeanor, that there are consequences for that action, that the person is held accountable, and hopefully procedures can be put in place to provide counseling for the offender or that sort of thing, so that there won't be reoccurrences of various incidents. So that's primarily where we're going with that. So we're looking at two sides of that, both civil and criminal, when we talk about offender accountability.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on. CIDVIC's members are appointed to the committee by the Chief Justice. People can be reappointed for successive terms, and the chairperson is appointed by the Chief Justice. And moving on to CIDVIC membership. One of your current council members, Amy Offenberg, is also a member of CIDVIC, and a couple of your members, Patricia Clark and Sherry Lauritano, are alumni of CIDVIC, having served on the committee in the past. But the committee membership is set out in the code section. We have a very diverse group based on the entities that the Chief Justice Feldman looked at back in 1994. So first of all, we have 5 representatives from the Superior Court. We have 1 judge or commissioner. We have a family court judge, a family court administrator, a court administrator, and a clerk from the Superior Court. We have 6 limited jurisdiction court representatives. Those would be representatives from Justice of the Peace and city courts. 2 of the judges must be from metropolitan areas, and 2 of the judges must be from non-metropolitan areas. The remaining 2 can be either metro or non-metro. We have 4 law enforcement representatives. The code requires that at least one of those members be from a sheriff's department. And we have 4 attorney representatives, of which Ms. Offenberg is one of those representatives. And moving on. We also have a representative from an Arizona Domestic Violence Coalition. We have 5 representatives from domestic violence resource providers. One of those must be a person from the governor's office. Currently, that's the governor's office of Youth, Faith, and Family. Emily Uline Olmstead is the representative from there. One of the service providers is from the medical community. One is from a shelter facility. The other 2 can be various types of domestic violence resource providers. We also have 2 representatives from the general public, and we can have other members who are appointed at the Chief Justice's discretion. So, for example, one of our discretionary appointees is a probation officer, because we recognize the value in having that voice at our table. And moving on. Judge Wendy Million from the Tucson City Court is the chair of CIDVIC. She has served as CIDVIC's chair for the past 6 years. She's actually served on CIDVIC since 2006. She has a strong interest in domestic violence issues. She currently has a specialized domestic violence court at the Tucson City Court. That's a court where we talk about offender accountability. She keeps close oversight on domestic violence offenders. They have to come back to her courtroom quite frequently. They have to go to counseling. They get reports on their counseling activities back to Judge Million. So if she finds out they're not going to their sessions, not progressing well, she can get them into court more frequently to ensure that that person knows that they're being monitored and she expects results from them. Her domestic violence court has been a mentor court for the Office on Violence Against Women from the U.S. Department of Justice. So Judge Millian is a strong leader in this field. She expects CIDVIC to be more than just a committee that meets 4 times a year. She expects CIDVIC to produce. So just ask Amy about that. We have work groups, multitude of activities. So let's talk about the various projects that CIDVIC has been involved in. This is not the entire list. This is just the main list. There's a set of court rules, the Arizona Rules of Protective Order Procedure, that the courts use when they deal with protective orders. These are procedural rules that were developed in 2007. So CIDVIC keeps a close eye on these rules. If there's a need to create a new rule, change a current rule, CIDVIC will file a rule petition and make a recommendation to the Supreme Court to consider its request. Other people can also file petitions to change the RPOP rules or to add new ones. So CIDVIC keeps a close eye on those and can respond to those, comment on those other rule petitions to assist the court when they decide whether or not to adopt rule petition changes. CIDVIC also makes recommendations regarding mandatory protective order forms. The protective order forms are mandated by the Supreme Court. Courts cannot change those forms without permission from the administrative office of the courts. The director of the AOC looks to CIDVIC on its recommendations regarding these protective order forms. We want these forms to be standardized throughout the courts so that plaintiffs know that the order they receive in Maricopa County is going to look very similar to an order that's issued in any other county in Arizona. Law enforcement looks for that uniformity so that they realize that these orders all look the same. The court names are different, but they know it's an authentic order from an Arizona court. CIDVIC proposes educational sessions for the annual judicial conference. The judicial conference is a required event for all judges in the state in Arizona. They all have to attend that. CIDVIC proposes 2 to 3 sessions that are focused on domestic violence. Judges do self-select their workshops at the judicial conference, but our sessions are well attended. We try to bring in speakers who talk on relevant topics so that judges are aware of the dynamics of domestic violence, the intersection of domestic violence and family court cases, and that sort of thing. One of CIDVIC's newer projects is a newsletter called the CIDVIC News. This is available on CIDVIC's website, which you can find on azcourts.gov. And we try to provide relevant topics there, timely topics for judicial officers, for the public, for court staff. Anybody who's interested in this topic can find something of interest in the newsletter. We create and publish an assortment of bench cards for judicial officers. There are many topics. Judges have to know quite a bit of things. We try to create bench cards that educate them on those topics, cards that they can keep handy when they're actually on the bench to help guide them in their decision making. Each year, bills are introduced at the legislature. Some of those affect domestic violence. So the AOC has a legislative team that gets in touch with CIDVIC or CIDVIC members if there's a bill that might affect protective orders or court procedure or something like that, looking for feedback. And then we also consult with our justice partners on AZ Point development. And our primary partner on that project is ACJC. That was a huge, huge undertaking. We're very proud of that project. It continues, but ACJC has been a good partner on that project in much of the early development of CIDVIC AZ Point back in 2019. Consulted frequently with CIDVIC on what that product should look like. Next slide. CIDVIC meets 4 times a year. The meetings are open to the public, so we have rules codified in ACJ 1202 on our public meetings. So a public meeting notice is posted, the agenda is made available to the public at least a week before the meeting. The public has access to the meetings, they can comment at our meetings. There's an allowance for executive sessions, although in the 16 years I've worked with CIDVIC, we've never had an executive session. And we produce minutes that are available for public inspection. And last but not least, I staff the committee. Veronica Gonzalez assists with committee logistics and that sort of thing. So that's the end of my presentation. Are there questions about CIDVIC?
Thank you, Kay.
You're
Do any
welcome.
members have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I hope this is the appropriate place to ask the question. At our last meeting, we talked about the desire to put an emphasis on training for those who goes through the annual conference for judicial. And I understand that mandating that is probably a very hard thing to do. Just because separation of powers between the legislature and the courts and all of that. Our attorney, RDV, not attorney, judge, she served, Judge Ferrante serves on the planning committee for that conference. And I know that she's been pushing more DV breakout groups and things like that to share the message that I believe we were all talking about at the last meeting. I'm wondering, instead of just having breakouts, what is it that we can do to assist to maybe highlight the intricacies of domestic violence cases within different courts, whether it's civil or criminal, and maybe elevate that to a general session so that more people are aware versus a breakout session that, you know, if you have an interest, you'll go. But I think based on the case that we heard from a victim, which I think I will clarify that and say the survivor of domestic violence at our last meeting, it felt to me that there was a disconnect between the civil cases and once it became a felony in the way that victims perhaps were, I don't know if treated is the right word. I don't have the legal words for all of that, but all of that to say, it's kind of a synopsis of our conversation last time is how can we as a group encourage more training through that planning committee to focus on domestic violence?
Well, there is a separate planning committee for the judicial conference. And Judge Ferrante is a member of CIDVIC. So she conveys that information up to that planning committee. One of the other judges who's on that planning committee is also on CIDVIC. So between the two of them, they work hard to make sure that CIDVIC's suggestions for the judicial conference are definitely heard. CIDVIC itself has to defer to that other committee because they're planning the entire session. However, CIDVIC on CIDVIC's agenda for this coming year is an effort to amend the judicial code to make domestic violence training mandatory for judges. Currently, the code says that any judge and court staff who work with protective orders have to have regular training on domestic violence, but we recognize that domestic violence not only affects family court cases, protective order cases, it can affect probate and juvenile and certainly criminal cases. So that is one of CIDVIC's plans for this year. It was discussed at our November meeting. The committee has been drafting an amendment to the code section, so we hope to move that forward. within the judiciary. In the judiciary, every judge, every court staffer has to have 16 hours of continuing education every year. So that is strongly enforced, but we would like to see the domestic violence component become mandatory. So we hope we'll see some success on that. We also have new judge orientation for both limited jurisdiction judges and superior court judges every year. Every new judge that comes onto the bench, whether it's a city court, a justice court, superior court, has to go to new judge orientation. Judge Million and I teach the session for the limited jurisdiction courts, and I've helped co-taught the one for superior court judges. We always focus on the cycle of domestic violence. We want judges to understand why a plaintiff might present in a court a particular way, why a defendant might present a different way because of the dynamic in the parties' relationship, so that they have an understanding of that. We also typically have a session at the judicial conference on trauma-informed courtrooms. That can affect not only protective orders and domestic violence and family court, but it crosses various case types. So we think it's important for judges to understand how trauma in a person's life can affect how they present in court, various things that are happening to them, and why they're not always at their best in a courtroom. It's a stressful situation for sure. So we hope to educate our judges as well as we can. Judge Million and I together edit a domestic violence bench book. It's prepared with guidance from CIDVIC as well, but we devote a large section of that to domestic violence, the dynamics of domestic violence. The very first part of that bench book is devoted to that topic, not just the procedure of how you issue an order of protection or something like that, but hopefully providing more information to judges on why what the folks are going through and why they may behave the way they're behaving. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. It does. And what I really appreciate, you were checking off all my little list of things that I hope that you all were training on. And so I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Again, I think this committee, if there's anything we can do to assist you and your group to move this, forward, just to highlight it, I think we would be happy to do that, and however we can assist. So thank you very much, Kay.
You're very welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Chair Norton.
All right. Thinking that the judges are all getting the training that is available, what kind of recourse is there if there's still a situation such as what we heard about at our last meeting, where that judge seems to have not taken all that training to heart? Is there any kind of recourse through CIDVIC or any other organization within the judicial system?
Thank you for your question, Chair Norton. One of the things that CIDVIC and of all the committees that we have, committee members cannot interfere in a person's individual case. We cannot intervene in that. So if a person is dissatisfied with their outcome in family court, for example, we have a court of appeals for that. We are always open to constructive suggestions for system improvement because our committees are looking at the system as a whole. So if we're successful in amending the code section to have mandatory DV training, then judges will have to have the mandatory DV training, not just at new judge orientation or if they select that session at the judicial conference. But as far as the results of an individual case, every case, particularly in family court, proceeds on its own facts and on the merits of that case. So CIDVIC has no authority to intervene in a person's case. But again, if there are ways that we can improve the system, we look for that. For example, one of the bench cards that we produced in this past year, and one that was the subject of a session at the judicial conference that was attended between 80 to 90 judges was a new bench card on the ARS 25403, which is part of the legal decision in custody statute and how it addresses domestic violence. So that judges understand the intersection of domestic violence and family court cases. Protection orders are sort of, they're very procedural. They don't contain provisions for family court cases. When families are also having a case in family court, things get a little complicated because both parents have a constitutional right to parent their child. So when one party is making allegations against the other, the judge has to weigh the facts and the evidence that are in front of them. It's always beneficial if both parties have legal counsel, but these are civil cases, even in family court. So the courts, the justice system doesn't provide attorneys for parties in family court, not like in criminal court where a defendant is entitled to an attorney if they can't afford one. So we make a lot of effort to educate people on the court process. Sadly, in Arizona, legal services is just overburdened with cases and lack of resources. 2 of our civic members represent community legal services, so we're aware of the challenges that program has and trying to provide assistance to the many people that need it. So we're working on the mandatory judicial training. We're hoping that will help improve things, putting out more bench cards to help judges navigate the very complex world of family court. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Oh, you're welcome.
On the bench cards that you speak of, are these, is this something that the advocates are able to have to know what type of guidelines you have within that system?
I can send a copy of that bench card to Kelly and she can share it. The bench card is based on the law. So
Right.
the bench card is primarily guiding judges on how to apply the law.
Right. All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Chair Norton. I thought I saw Laura's hand up. Laura, did you have a question?
Sorry, I took time trying to find them out, manipulate my mouse. I have something I wanted to present, but I can take it to Kay offline. It's about some judicial training webinar that I participated in through Futures Without Violence regarding judicial training for late life abuse. So it kind of ties into a couple of things that we addressed, but I can take that offline with you, Kay.
I'll look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Laura.
A minute.
I did not see anybody else's hands up. Kelly, are you aware of anybody else who's indicated they'd like to ask a question?
Amy Offenberg is waiting, and so is Vice Chair Ellis.
I just want to let everyone know that Civic is a really wonderful committee. They do great work, and Judge Million is phenomenal. She is so devoted to this issue and, like Kay said, has very high expectations of the committee. If anybody is looking for a volunteer opportunity where you're actually expected and that actually produces results, I strongly recommend applying for Civic. It's really been one of the most gratifying experiences I've had in my years in working in this area is working with Civic.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you for sharing that, Amy. I saw that Councilmember Ellis, you went off mute.
Yes, I'm off mute now. My question also was in the line of Judge Million. I wanted to know, based on the program that she's instilled here in Tucson, is that duplicable other places? I know in Chandler we have a homelessness court, we have different things like that. But I don't know if we have the component of domestic violence. And is that something that we can learn from or get more information? How do we get in contact with Judge Million or her court in order to get some more information?
I can share her contact information with Kelly. Judge Million does work with other courts that are interested in establishing specialized domestic violence courts. For example, Judge Ferrante in Gilbert is working on one. Scottsdale has established one. Trying to think who else, but Judge Million works with courts around the country as a mentor court for Department of Justice to help bring those kind of specialized courts up. So I will share that
I
information.
see Kathy, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That brings me up. I was going to put it under future agenda items, but after our last meeting, I did have a meeting with our Judge Ferrante, and she is open if you would like to get a presentation, or if you'd just like to contact me and I can get her in touch to talk with your group separately. Either if you wanted one here on how to set up a domestic violence court within your community, some of the best practices. I know that there are others within the Maricopa County as well. So however you'd like to proceed, Madam Chair, the offer is there if you'd like a presentation, or if individual people want to reach out, then I'll make that connection as well. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us that opportunity. Kelly, did you see anyone else with a question?
I do not at this time.
Thank you. Well, Kay, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your generosity and spending your time with us and answering the questions. We look forward to getting the information that you share with Kelly out to the whole committee. And we hope you have a happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
All right, our next item on the agenda is Teen Dating Violence Prevention Month. Kelly Williams, Director of Human Services for MAG, will lead the council in a discussion on the planning for February 2024's Teen Dating Violence Prevention Month. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Well, Madam Vice Chair, I believe I've already given you the resources that I was going to share. But as you know, we are going into February. February will be here very quickly. Last year, we hosted a series of webinars with Bloom 365. We do not plan on doing that again, only because it's very time intensive and their curriculum still stands, and we have those available on our YouTube page. So we will include those in our social media talking points that we will send out to all of you, along with hyperlinks to those trainings. They're excellent. If you have youth councils or other youth groups that you're connected to that you would want to point in that direction, we would really encourage you to do so. We will also be sending out a sample proclamation for you to consider implementing at your city level or even your organization level. And of course, our staff is always available to you. So if you have additional resources that you need, or you have other ideas for how we can promote teen dating violence prevention, we are all ears. As you can imagine, for those of you who are familiar with adverse childhood experiences, the faster we can catch youth who have either been exposed to domestic violence in the home, or they consider that the norm, et cetera, and to try to change those behaviors, both from individuals who are surviving domestic violence or individuals who are perpetuating domestic violence, the better for our community at large. And so we're very interested in partnering with you and your organizations and your cities across our region to try to provide resources to youth, to parents, to other individuals who work with youth. And Madam Vice Chair, I will hand it back to you as the lead of that work group to see if there's anything I missed.
I don't believe you missed anything, Kelly. Thank you so much for all of your work on this and helping our work group stay on task. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions or comments from the council regarding the Teen Dating Violence Prevention Month?
Madam Vice Chair, Allie Klein has her hand raised.
Please, Alex.
Try not to say too much so they don't go like this when they see I'm on the council. But I do want to thank you for all the information about the teen dating information from last year. I shared that with our local high school coordinators, and they were very excited. I know they used some of those programs. So when we get the new links and all that kind of good stuff, I'll send it out. We have a number of charters in addition to our unified schools out here. Last year, I didn't have a good contact for our charter schools as well as our unifieds. So this year, I hope to be able to send that out to all of them. They found it very interesting, and they shared it with their school unified groups that they have for teens in their groups. So anyway, I just wanted to share with other people. It was well received by the high schools. So if you haven't sent them out to the high schools, that's where I started, and they seem to be pretty excited about that. And I included the superintendent of those schools so that they would know what we were sending out. But it did seem to be something that they really felt was worthwhile. So I look forward to being able to use the proclamation as well at City of Surprise, as well as sending out the information to our local teams. So thank you for the information, and we'll share it again this year.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Glad it was so well received. All right, next on our agenda are future agenda items. Are there any requests from council members for an item on the future agenda that we haven't already addressed? And I can't see if your hand's up, so just take yourself off of mute and speak if you'd like. Okay, everybody calm down. 1% at a time, please. All right, hearing none. So are there any comments or announcements from any of the members?
Madam
I saw your hand up.
Yes, if I could just add something. I will reserve this person's anonymity because they did not ask to share their story, but I will say that one of the members of the Regional Domestic Violence Council last month, after hearing the survivor story from the October meeting, worked with that survivor to provide some financial assistance, and it really changed that family's well-being. It was very nice to walk alongside that interaction and help connect this individual with the survivor, and she was so grateful, and her children were so grateful. So it was just a really lovely outcome I think a lot of us were very moved in that room when we heard her story and how difficult things had been for her and her children. And so she wanted me to express gratitude to our council at large for both the opportunity to advocate and also for the generosity of you all. So thank you.
Kelly, thank you for sharing that. Mr. and Miss Anonymous, thank you very much for helping that family.
Madam Chair, I have a quick story. I am actually in New York right now getting an award from United Nations in the area of human rights that I have worked, whether abroad in Haiti or here in the United States. So I wanted to thank all of you. And also on tomorrow, I'm receiving that in the morning, and then Saturday evening, the 2000 Shades of Women organization that are also part of the UN will be bestowing upon me an honorary degree in the humanities, a doctorate honorary degree in humanities. And I really so grateful, and I'm humbled by all of that, knowing that I can't really do what I do as a council member without having to look at women like yourselves constantly. The Vice Mayor of Gilbert, who I've come to really admire, and all the other women on this call, that every time I sit down and listen to you guys and see how you move in your cities and how you help in your communities, I'm constantly being inspired to continue doing the work and pushing through. So I'm going to thank you all, and I will receive this on the behalf of all of you. Miss Kelly Williams, thank you for always helping and making me better than I am every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellis, and congratulations.
Bravo.
All right, if there are no more comments, I want to thank you guys for attending today. The next regional council meeting will be held on February 1st at 2 p.m. And if there's no further business, today